Hello MotoGP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Márquez converted pole into a controlled sprint victory at the German Grand Prix, fending off pressure from Alex Márquez and Fabio Di Giannantonio to take his 19th career sprint win. Márquez crossed the line 0.368s clear of Alex, with Di Giannantonio completing a Ducati 1-2-3 in a race that underlined single-lap strength and tactical composure under pressure. Marc Márquez used an unconventional three-run qualifying approach to claim pole at the Sachsenring and set a new lap record. Faced with a soft front tire that delivers peak performance for only a single flying lap, Márquez and his crew added an extra attack to the usual two-run routine, timing 3 short pushes to exploit the tire's brief window and secure the top spot. Marc Márquez pushed back at online trolls who celebrated Marco Bezzecchi's heavy qualifying crash at the Sachsenring, calling for calm and renewed attention to track safety. The reigning champion also reiterated confidence in Ducati's weekend form after converting pole into a sprint win, while urging improvements to gravel trap transitions that he says have contributed to several recent injuries. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update.
Welcome to ZNGP, your home for MotoGP news. Fast, accurate, and direct. Let's start.
Márquez led from the whole shot and managed intense early pressure from Alex Márquez and Di Giannantonio as the leading trio ran line astern in the opening laps. Di Giannantonio briefly dropped back mid-distance before mounting a late charge that ultimately fell short of second. AI Ogura's early podium threat faded and he finished fourth, while Raul Fernandez, battling pain from qualifying, took fifth. Márquez won by 0.368s. Alex Márquez and Fabio Di Giannantonio completed the podium. At the Sachsenring, clean starts and defensive racecraft are decisive. Márquez's ability to control the line and resist late attacks proved the difference. Márquez turned a record pole into a composed sprint victory, showing the Ducati's one-lap pace and his own race management. He defended the lead through a few probing moves from Alex Márquez, most notably into turn 12, and never allowed a sustained run at the front. The win trims Márquez's championship deficit and reinforces his momentum heading into the main race. Converting qualifying speed into race control remains a core strength for Márquez this season. A rider who can lead from the start and manage pressure without overcommitting gains both track position and psychological advantage for the Grand Prix. Ducati filled the top 3 in the sprint, a clear sign of the factory package's pace at the Sachsenring. Pecco Bagnaia recovered from an 11th place grid slot to finish 7th, showing racecraft but also the cost of missing Q2. The result highlights Ducati's depth but also the differing fortunes within the garage. While Ducati's outright speed is evident, starting position and race day execution remain critical. Bagnaia's climb to 7th salvages points but underlines the penalty of a Q1 start. A 1-2-3 in the sprint is a strong statement, but converting that into a Grand Prix result requires consistent race pace and tire management over the longer distance. The sprint shuffled the standings. Jorge Martin extended his championship lead in the absence of Marco Bezzecchi, who fractured a collarbone in qualifying, while Márquez narrowed his own points gap with a strong weekend showing. The event also marked the debut of MotoGP's revised grid layout, which influenced starts and early positioning. Franco Morbidelli's crash on lap 7 removed another contender from the mix. Injuries and format changes can quickly alter strategic priorities. Teams must adapt their weekend plans when key riders are sidelined or the grid behaves differently. Saturday's sprint confirmed Marc Márquez and Ducati as major forces at the Sachsenring, but it also left open questions about race distance performance and tire management for the Grand Prix. Ducati's depth gives them options, yet starting positions and mid-race consistency will decide whether the factory converts sprint dominance into full race success. For Márquez, the sprint win is momentum. For rivals, it's a reminder that the fight for the championship remains tightly contested. The main race will test whether Márquez can turn sprint control into a full-distance victory and whether Ducati can maintain its sprint form across the longer, more demanding Grand Prix. The soft front tire at Sachsenring gives a very narrow peak. Márquez found the second lap of a 2-lap stint already showed a drop in performance. By returning to the pits and making a third run, he ensured each attack used a tire at its freshest, avoiding the performance fall-off that hampered rivals on their second laps. Márquez's strategy produced a lap record and pole position. Extra pit stops in qualifying are a tactical gamble. Time in the pits must be offset by a cleaner, faster flying lap. At a short circuit like Sachsenring, the balance favored Márquez's approach. Márquez said he analyzed his time attack and proposed 3 time attacks to the team, surprising them but ultimately executing the plan perfectly. The team's willingness to adapt to a rider-led strategy underlines strong communication and trust between Márquez and his engineers. With the soft front it was possible, but only for 1 lap. The team was a bit surprised when I said I want to do 3 time attacks. When a rider identifies a tire window and the team commits to an atypical plan, the payoff can be decisive, especially on circuits where lap time gains are measured in hundredths. Most Q2 riders stuck to the conventional 2-run plan. Raul Fernandez also attempted 3 runs but didn't set a time on his second outing. Alex Márquez pushed Marc close, finishing just 0.061s adrift, while Fabio di Giannantonio completed the front row. The weekend also saw the debut of increased grid spacing, making front row starts even more valuable. Small qualifying margins are amplified by the new grid layout. Securing pole not only gives track position but reduces the early race risk introduced by wider row spacing. On a short track, a pole lap is doubly valuable. Time gained in qualifying is harder to recover in the opening laps. Converting pole into race control will test tire management and race distance setup. Márquez's 3-run tactics solved a single lap problem but does not directly address long-run stability. Teams must now ensure race pace and tire life match the promise of qualifying. A qualifying strategy that maximizes 1-lap speed must be paired with a race plan that preserves tires and pace over the full distance. Márquez's pole is a tactical masterstroke that gives him momentum heading into the sprint and Grand Prix. The result highlights the value of rider analysis and flexible team strategy, while reminding rivals that unconventional approaches can yield big gains. The main race will reveal whether Ducati and Márquez can translate qualifying dominance into full-distance success. Pole at Sachsenring is both a psychological and practical advantage. The weekend's outcome will hinge on tire management, race setup, and how well Márquez defends the lead under sustained pressure. After Marco Bezzecchi suffered a fractured collarbone in qualifying, some social media users suggested the injury was karma for Bezzecchi's earlier collision with Márquez in Indonesia. Márquez responded firmly, rejecting the idea and reminding fans that riders accept real danger every time they race. Karma doesn't exist. Public calls for schadenfreude after a serious crash are rare but damaging. Márquez's swift rebuttal aims to cool the online reaction and refocus attention on rider welfare. Márquez used the incident to renew a technical safety plea. Several recent crashes, including his own in Indonesia and Bezzecchi's at Sachsenring, have been aggravated by a step or lip between asphalt and gravel that can destabilize bikes as they slide off track. He urged organizers and circuits to address the issue to reduce the risk of secondary injuries. Fixing surface transitions is a relatively straightforward intervention that could lower the severity of crashes and speed up rider recovery. When multiple riders cite the same track feature after separate incidents, it strengthens the case for a rapid, targeted safety review. Márquez's comments came after he won the sprint at Sachsenring, leading a Ducati 1-2-3 and trimming his championship deficit. He downplayed any notion that Aprilia would challenge strongly at the circuit, arguing the track's stop-start character suits Ducati's package. Tomorrow is Ducati's day. The sprint result reinforced Ducati's short-run dominance at the Sachsenring, but converting that into Grand Prix success will depend on tire management and race distance setup. Bezzecchi's collarbone fracture removes a key contender from the weekend and hands Jorge Martin a chance to extend his lead. For Márquez and other title challengers, the incident reshuffles tactical priorities, seize points while rivals are sidelined, but avoid unnecessary risk in a field already thinned by injury. Injuries change the championship calculus quickly. Teams must balance opportunism with prudence when rivals are absent. Márquez's public stance blends empathy, pragmatism, and a call for concrete safety fixes. His rejection of online vitriol aims to protect the paddock's culture, while his safety plea targets a fixable circuit hazard. On track, Ducati's sprint form gives them momentum, but the Grand Prix will test whether that pace holds over race distance, and whether the paddock responds to repeated safety warnings with meaningful change. The weekend now hinges on recovery, repair, and restraint. Medical teams and circuit officials must act on safety concerns, while riders and teams convert the altered competitive landscape into measured gains. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!